Okay, most important part of this is to know what to grab, okay, to set yourself up for success. Okay, first thing, I take this heavy duty. Unless there's something special going on, I take it out of the equation. We don't need that 90% of the time. Okay, tiller fireman, he's the patient man. He is grabbing what?
Glass master, emergency blanket, and then glass puffers.
Okay, right? So he's grabbing this. He's grabbing this. He's grabbing glass. And sometimes I'll have him grab these two and a couple peel and peeks. Okay, so that's what tiller guy is grabbing. He's the patient man. He's already going to the top of the vehicle to talk to the patient, tell him what's going on, calm him. He's going to start breaking glass. And while he's there, he's already going to be on the top side of the car. So I normally just have the tiller guy grab these two, throw them in. That way he can get the initial stabilization before he starts breaking glass, right? So that is what the tiller guy is grabbing. He's the patient man, okay? Next is going to be the inside cab fireman. Inside cab fireman is going to grab which jack? The static jack, right? So this is cab fireman. He's going to grab that. He's going to grab a cluster. He's going to grab a light duty and a medium duty. Okay? We may not need all four of these things, but if you are on which side of the car for this operation with this jack? You're on the bottom side, right? If you grab these four things, you pretty much, no matter what you find on the bottom side of that car, you will be set up for success. You might not need the medium. You might not need the light, but grab these four things for the bottom side of the vehicle. Okay, now the engineer, what am I grabbing? Dynamic jack. Okay, so let's start a separate pile for this. This is what I am grabbing. Engineer is grabbing the dynamic jack. He's grabbing what? J-hook. And then sometimes I'll grab this light duty just in case too. Okay, so tiller, engineer, cab fireman. Okay, that's pretty much what we need for this operation. Okay, that sets you up for success. Okay, Nam, so you're what position on the rig with this equipment?
I am the
Tillerman. Tillerman or patient man. Okay, first thing you do, grab your wedges. We want to stabilize this vehicle. The wheels are what helps stabilize this vehicle. If we rolled up, we did our kind of our scene size up of the vehicle. If there's no wheels, this is very important to do immediately, right? So we want to throw these in at a good location. I kind of normally go down the C-post wherever it can bite into a good spot. This is another thing that's always dynamic. If it's a truck, that not too much.
You're not on the C-post there. Where are you? Where are you at?
You're on a door. Okay, kick it in. And this is always different, you know, if it's a truck that's not touching the ground because stuff's bent up, you want to just get good contact. Okay, so now we that made a huge difference, and it would make an even bigger difference if the tires were still intact. Okay, so next thing you want to do, talk to the patient as if you are actually, there's a patient in there, let them know what's going on, and we need to start breaking out glass, get them covered up, okay? Okay, and this is going to go very fast on an incident, so go ahead.
All right, sir. We're going to help you get out of there. Just be careful. We're going to be breaking some glass. There's going to be some loud noise around you. But just stay put. We'll get you out.
Okay, go to work. Okay, so normally the first thing we do is say, I break this one. I break the top glass right here. That way I can get that blanket over the patient. Before we start doing this, it's going to get a bunch of the actual shards all over. No. Okay, we just talked about it, and you did the opposite down here, and you're going the opposite way here. Okay, it's coming around this way because you want to get as close to this side as possible to get all that glass out of the way. You're coming from this side where you had it, like this, and then once you get in here, you're following the angle like that to get it down like this. Okay, and remember this bottom part, you don't need to freaking be down here cutting all willy-willy nonky like that. You just take the butt end of that and just smash it. Just like when the car's on its all four wheels.
Do that at your last step, okay, Mike?
The bottom part should be your last.
Because you can control the takeout and fall of it. Right now it's going to just free fall when you're done. Alright, hold up. So now you got yourself in a weird situation, now you got to puncture it in there, right? So let go. So if you had your hole here, you want to round it, right? And you're doing these like super small little things. Do in and big pulls like that, and you'll see it goes a lot faster. And then round your turn to come into here. So like. Okay, if that's all you have left, just break it if it's weird now. Just break it and pull it down. No, use the flat side of it. Point of operation for the engineer, right? So it's very important to clear as much of this shit away as possible, right? That way the rescue jack can come in and bite right here. Sometimes, see how this is a very shallow piece right here for us to get hooks in? This is blocking it. Get it out of the way. Now look at it. Now I have this huge piece to dive into right here. Okay, so the way we teach this is a bread and butter way, but you know, the way we teach is to go off the A-pillar. Sometimes you can't go off the A-pillar. Sometimes you have to go off the back pillar. I've done it off the truck bed before. This operation can be moved around the vehicle, but it's the same thing every time, the same concept, right? So for this vehicle, we're going to do the bread and butter, and it's going to be off the A-post. So the engineer you'll see on the other side of the vehicle, he's going to let you know where he wants the jack set up, right? So you'll see me on the other side. I'll lift my arm up from the other side. I'll be like, hey, let's go off the A-pillar, right off of me. So if I set my arm up right here, that means you're going to be operating somewhere on this A-pillar range. You want to go make this as easy on you as possible. So what do we have jumping out at us to put this jack into? We got a great hole here. That's a good lip too. You just want to make sure that it's part of the frame and that it's a heavy metal, right? Sometimes it's like plastic things that bend out like this. That would work too if we had to use our claws, but this hole's pretty awesome. You just don't want it to be like super low, obviously. You want to try and get it up as high as possible to get that into, but I'm totally comfortable with that. You guys like that? Okay, so let's have Johnny grab your static. Because this operation is based off of triangles, right? It's important that my triangle is lined up pretty closely with your triangle. We just don't want them to be offset by like more than a foot, because then you're counter-forcing pushes like that. Then it's not going to work out great for you. So we're in this area. We're somewhere above our nipple line, up right here. This can be, the whole tool can be switched around to either use that or the teeth. If this hole wasn't here, these holes weren't here, I would use this lip and I'd be totally cool with it. Yep. Another thing that the rookies do on their tests sometimes that makes them not look super dialed is they'll take off this wrong one. Remember, the top one is just to keep this head on here, so don't ever even deal with that. You're just pulling off the bottom one, getting it adjusted in there. So look at the hole you're going into. Sure. That's a little high. So I don't even put that pin in until I put it in the hole. So let go. So like I put it in this hole like that. I get it snug and I get it to kind of a good angle, because you know the angle after we tighten stuff up, it's going to either, you know, kind of move in as it tightens, or it can kind of slide out a little bit. So get it to the appropriate angle that you want right there. So after it's to the good angle, then I put the pin in. The next part, like I said, we want to make this operation as easy as possible. I know you were talking about using different straps and all this stuff. It makes extra steps for no reason. There's a lot of things on this vehicle, and a lot of our tools can make this the easiest thing possible. So we want to use these straps on the static side if possible. So first things first, I always just dress them up, loosen them up to what I need. Okay, I'm looking over here. We want to keep these straps as low to the ground as possible to have a good foundation. We don't want to go off any suspension. We don't want to go off like a tire because a lot of times that stuff breaks, it can move, it's unstable. We want to go to some solid part of the frame. A lot of vehicles have these hooks right here. These hooks are a huge asset. So it's part of the frame, it's solid, it's not going anywhere. You go over the top because if you go over the bottom, sometimes it has a tendency to get bounced and bounce off. So for these, I go over the top, I check that, I walk my strap back, and whenever I tighten it, I put my foot on this base. Because sometimes you'll go to tighten the strap, you'll slide the base off, and you won't even realize it, especially at night, in the mud, whatever. Put your foot on here, tighten your strap. You don't need to get it super tight, but I get it completely snug like that until it's hanging off like this. Okay? Next thing we want to do is find somewhere for this side of the strap. Okay? I'm looking around here, I see some holes. Not seeing too much. The closest thing I see, just super easily, is this hole right here. So, a lot of times these holes are hard to get in with this. So, one of the reasons we bring what we do to the bottom side of this car is a cluster. Okay? With these holes, sometimes I use this one because it goes in there nice. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay, this time it did. Get it in there, twist it so it locks. Hook it on here over the top. Go back to our base, step on it, secure it, take some tension out of it. Okay? After that, we're freaking good to go down here. So then you'd say, static jack's ready to the engineer, or what the engineer is going to be doing. Okay, so let's grab our dynamic jack. Let's take those straps off and get ready to deploy. So remember, I was on this side. I told static guy, I said, hey, let's line it up off the base of the A post. Okay? If it wasn't already done, I'm going to make sure I have my good foothold right here, guys. Right here. That's the most important part of the operation. The second part is a lot of times this will have a big piece of plastic on it. During the peel and peak process, the patient man should prop that off too, make sure there's no airbags. And it's also going to help me for my J-hook operation right here. Okay? So take your pin out of the bottom.
Do you do the peel and peak before you set up the...
Well, the guy who's doing the glass, he should have his glass stuff and peeling and peeking at the same time.
Sure.
Okay, so same thing on the bottom. I don't ever, some guys will teach you, like I go a foot above the car and then I freaking put the pin and all that stuff. Every car is different and that doesn't work every time. So I take the pin out, I get it to where I want it. I slam it up in there like this, and then exactly what Jason was saying. You get it to your good angle that you want it to, like that. That's going to work, and we're going to be raising it, so I throw the pin in somewhere around there. This is good. I always kind of step back and make sure it's a good angle, and we're kind of off to the side right now, right? We want those two triangles to match up perfectly. So I would kind of slide this over a little bit like this, because you want it to be going straight at the car, right? Not off to an angle like this. Because the smaller of an angle it could be the smallest angle. Once you start cranking it, it'll want to slide that way and it'll jack up your whole operation. Okay, so for this strap, we're kind of planning to do a roof removal in the worst or busiest case scenario here, right? So if you have this here, guys are going to be stepping over it. It's going to be all over the place, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to have this one over there. This one, okay, if we're going to be taking the roof off, this strap is going to be pretty damn worthless, right? So take this strap out of the equation and hand me the J-hook. Okay, J-hook for this operation is going to take the place of this strap, because this strap would have to go somewhere over here, and now we're going to be walking over it, stepping in it, we could trip over it and ruin the whole operation. So J-hook, we already peeled and peaked and took this plastic crap off of it. Come from the bottom. If this glass is in the way of you getting a good seal or something like that, just rip it off like this. And we want to get it somewhere to seal around like this, because it's going to be pulling like that. Okay? This chain, has a shortener on it. So you take this hook, come from the bottom, that way it doesn't pop itself off, put it on that, and now we use the chain shortener. Grab it like this until it's tight and bring it up to this hook, like that, as close as you can get it. This thing's going to slide out after we start lifting the jack, so it's okay.
See how that's taking up the slack of the chain? Yes, sir.
Okay, that's how you shorten it. A lot of rookies on their test too, they kind of forget and they start bringing it back towards this thing. This is where you secure it. This is where you tighten it. Okay? All right, so that covers the right base of our triangle. Remember, this is out of the equation now. And now we need to complete this side of our triangle. Those 2 extra straps, because sometimes we might need it. But hopefully we don't, because we want to make this as easy and quick as possible. We bring it around. Static guy already knows that he used this one and it's a good purchase point. So it reaches, bring it around and throw it onto that same thing. Okay? Then I would have my static jack guy kind of dress this, and we want to make sure that it kind of stays in a good position because it's going to want to go under the car, and if we get a little bit of lift, we're going to kind of lose that side of the triangle. So I'd have my static guy kind of hold it right here. So let's have somebody hold it right there for me. Or if I can kind of keep it from falling down, I can kind of stay in that little lip there. I come back here, I put my foot on it, and I tighten it until it can kind of stay snug. Okay? And remember, I put my foot on here, like that. If it drops down a little bit, it's okay. It's just something to keep your eye on. All right? So, during this whole operation, if it falls, just take the slack out of it. We'll make it work. So you can let it go, Johnny?
Let it go down.
Let's see where it goes.
So, is that a problem right there?
We covered what the engineer's doing. We covered what the tillerman's doing. We covered what the cab fireman is doing. Now what our captain is doing, he's the overall safety officer of this whole thing. He's taking a big picture of this thing, walking around, making sure if there's any electrical hazards, fire hazards, leaks, anything that we need to be aware of. He's also going to look at the general lean of the vehicle. If we're kind of messing around with this thing and it's starting to lean or whatever, he might back us off. He's our safety officer. Then, you know, this operation is now complete. The static side has been done. The glass, the patient's covered, the patient's being dealt with. The dynamic side is done. Captain Gray is going to do one more lap, and he's going to be like, all right, we're good to go. Now it's time for the lifting dynamic jack part of the operation. Captain Gray is going to stay either at the hood or at the backside, and he's going to be our point of communication, letting us know if it's working well, if it's leaning, if it's rotating, all that type of stuff, right? So you'll see some guys when doing this that they put their foot right here. We do not want to put our foot right here. This thing sliding away and getting snug is natural, right? So I stand on this side like this, and I keep cranking until this J-hook is tight. And it's only going to get tight if that base slides away to secure its triangle, right? So I'll say, all right, we're lifting, clear. So I just keep going like this. I'm looking at nothing other than this J-hook because I know my captain is looking at the overall lean and tilt of the vehicle. Sometimes if you're on weird ground, you're up against a crack, and you're like, I'm moving this thing a lot, but the base of this isn't moving. Sometimes you got to give it a little kick, just like that, okay? We want that thing to slide. We want this chain to get tight. So then you keep going. Okay, it's getting tighter, right? Much tighter, 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 tighter. Keep going. Sometimes we got to give that a little bit to slide. And done. 2 straps over there that we didn't have to use. But I said almost always we're going to use that light duty. The reason of that being said, if it's your test day or it's a real life call and we're anticipating having to do a full roof removal of this, look at that J-hook. That J-hook is just on the A-pillar like that, right? If we're going to cut the roof off of this thing, we're going to have to cut, you know, right here, and we're going to have to cut right here. The hazard of that operation is now the chain, the J-hook, which is keeping this whole operation at its strongest, is right on the edge of a cut-off thing. So worst case scenario would be if this chain slipped off to the right and completely fell off this A-post after we did a roof removal. So that's why we use that light duty strap, and that's why I always teach the guys that do the static to bring that light duty strap. Okay, so what I would do with this,
We don't have that one that's coming out this way, right? Right? Because this is the area we're working in. We don't want to be trying to step over another strap trying to do this roof removal.
this strap doesn't need to be like pulling super tight tension. It just needs to be tight enough to where that J-hook doesn't slip off the side. So I just throw it on the middle of that chain, and I would come back over here right to this exact same freaking thing we've been using. I'd open it up, I would take the tension out of it, or take the slack out of it, give it just a couple straps if it falls. Take that tension out like this too. And now, no matter what we do to that roof, that J-hook won't slide off that. Does that make sense? Okay, so everything we brought to this vehicle in the order that we did with the people that they brought, we used everything except for that medium duty strap. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
That medium duty strap we're bringing just in case we need it on the bottom to get a purchase point. This is how the operation should look on test day. This is how you should do it for an engineer's test. You do this, you'll pass.